So our brain is designed to keep us alive. But I believe your purpose, your dream is put in your heart by God, by universe, by Allah, whatever you believe, and it's there, and it never changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're still wondering, you need to figure out a way to shut off the brain and listen to the heart, and I think the heart will tell
Listen
you.
to your heart.
Yeah, there you go, right? Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have another special podcast. So we're in this series where we call guest hosts. So last week we had Brian Avila as our guest host, and Jessica, she was the videographer, but also on the podcast. But guess what? We made a switch. We're pivoting, right? So Jessica's now going to be our guest co-host for a little while. We'll see how that goes. She also does a great job in the videography, but we're just gonna get together and have a little conversation, chat about some topics that are going on right now. By the way, if you're new to the channel, we welcome you. Welcome to the channel. We appreciate you. Please subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that little like button, smash the like button, hit the notification bell. But anyway, so Jessica, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. Gonna, try to get used to this new co-hosting thing since unfortunately Brian is too good for us. He's such a busy guy. He's got so much going on. He's got his own stuff. So I'm excited to try something new.
Yeah, when we brought Brian on, it was always like a guest kind of tryout thing, and we love Brian. Brian, I know you're out there building a big business. You're always welcome. You know what I mean? But now Jessica's the co-host, and I think it's going to be a good mix. Tell them a little bit about your background. You do have a background in this, right?
Yeah. So I have a degree in broadcast journalism from San Jose State University, and so I have I did a vignettes, like a little mini profiles and stuff. So where I did interview like refugees coming from Syria and Iraq. They were escaping, from ISIS and all the Taliban. And so we went to Greece and we actually interviewed them on their travels and what they're doing and how they're going to try to survive. And we went to the camps and stuff. So, I definitely have experience in filming and interviewing and that type of stuff.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was intense. It was really intense.
What part of Greece did you guys go to?
We went to Athens, and then we went to an island called Lesbos, which is where they were. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Lesbos. Don't get too excited, Isaac.
Sorry. Distracted, right? So Athens and Lesbos. Okay.
Yeah, Lesbos. Yeah. So that island is actually, if you go to the beach, like the coast, you can actually see Turkey. And so the refugees were fleeing from Turkey to Greece on like little boats or whatever they could find to get over. And I don't think that was the island where they found that little boy who had drowned. I don't know if you remember that picture of the little Syrian boy.
I don't remember the picture, but I do remember the story.
Yeah. So that was so a lot of people over there were helping the refugees, with like when they got over, they tried to help them, and some people weren't so happy with refugees coming over. So it was a very intense and like eye-opening trip, because when you hear about it here, it's just like, oh yeah, like da-da-da. But then you go and you see the faces of these 13-year-old kids who are, just trying to survive. Like their parents are just like trying to get them somewhere where they can survive and have kind of a normal life. Mm-hmm. And there were so many like intense stories about people witnessing their family members getting beheaded, or things like that. Little girls like were so affected that they were trying to commit suicide, and so it's just like super, super intense. But yet they're so kind. I went to one of the little encampment, the little camps, and one of the little girls, we went to her little camp, and she was showing us around her room. It was her twin sister, her little brother, and her parents. And her mom had made their favorite dish for dinner, and they're asking us like, take some. And I'm like, no, like I'm not going to take food from a refugee. And then so I felt so bad. I was like, oh no, it's okay. And they were so hurt because they were like, wow, you turned us down. But it was just like I don't know what to do here. Like, obviously I want to like, accept that, but I don't feel comfortable taking away food from someone, like going through their situation.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough scenario, you know. And it's true, like you say, we become kind of desensitized because the media just shows whatever they want to show, you know, their perspective, right? But
Yeah.
then when you're actually there, and just to think about what you just said, like imagine watching your family members beheaded and being like a little girl and like experiencing that, and but then just the fact that they're such kind, giving people, that they're refugees, they probably have a shortage of food, but whatever they have, they want to share. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're so smart. Like the little girl, she spoke what she speak? She spoke Arabic, she spoke English, and she spoke another language. I forget what it was. Greek. I don't know. It was like she just like spoke like 4 different languages, and I'm like, oh my god, you're 13, like a refugee speaking all these like, oh my god, like, and I'm like friggin' 23, speak English, maybe like a little Spanish,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, dang, like, whoo, she was so smart. And they were trying to get to Canada. I remember them saying they wanted to get to Canada and go to school to become doctors.
Okay. So this was this was Syria and Iraq. Was this when was this, what was going on? Why were they fleeing? Was it the Syrian
It was
war?
ISIS and
okay.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Yeah, okay. So this was when ISIS was at its peak, like really bad.
yeah, it was. I think it was in 2018 when I went. So I think it was a little bit after,
the
maybe.
end. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, we went to this site, and it was like a dumping ground, and it had mountains and mountains of life jackets from all the refugees that had come across. It was insane. I remember we were there, and we were just like, it was me and all my like colleagues, and we're just all taking it in, and it was just like everyone was just dead quiet, and we're just walking around. You see like little 2-year-old shoes laying around, and you just see all these life jackets. And I remember my professors were like, all right, let's take a picture, and everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, we're all so like so affected by this, and they're like, all right, let's all stand together. And we're like, I was like, no, I don't want to take a picture. Like, this doesn't feel like a moment where we should all be like,
Yeah.
you know. But I mean, I guess you could look at it in a positive, like like the mountains of life jackets were refugees that made it hopefully across. Like that was a sign of everyone who was able to, you know, get across and survive.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, when you said that mountains of, I just had this picture of like basically a mountain of life jackets.
It literally was. There was just heaps and heaps of just life jackets from like little kid size to adult. It's insane. It's insane what they have to go through just to survive, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so our ex-videographer, Hatem, he's actually from Syria.
Oh, nice.
So he left Syria in 2010 thinking he was just going to come here to get his degree and then go back and run a company in his home country.
Oh, no.
And a year after he left, that's when the revolution broke out.
Oh, no.
And he has not been able to go back since. Right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, wow. Yeah, that is insane. See, guys, like, we just don't understand. We don't appreciate things sometimes. So that
100%.
kind of stuff really makes you especially since you were young, like so young when you experienced that. I'm sure it made a pretty profound impact on you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially coming from my family, like I'm pretty well off, like probably upper middle class. And so like I'm very appreciative of everything that's been pretty much handed to me. Like it's basically like, you know, you don't choose where you're born.
Yeah.
It's like when I've seen people here, like, you know, or heard them say the birth lottery, you won the birth lottery, you know. So it's like I'm really grateful for what I have, and I just wish other people were willing to share. Like I want to like help. Like it's just also when you like I want to help, but it's just like how.
Yeah.
It's like what I feel like the issue is. Like I want to help, but like where do I get started?
Right.
How do I help? Like in what way would actually be helping them?
Well, just by you telling the story right
Exactly.
now, you're already somewhat helping them. You know what I mean?
That's what our mission was. So we actually had a website, and we had all the little profiles that we did of all the different families and people while we were traveling. So we went to Greece and Italy, and that's what we were doing over there. So it was very eye-opening, very intense, very awesome trip, because I have anxiety. So that was my first trip like away from my family.
Okay. Wow.
To like a different country.
What a first trip.
So like I mean I've traveled in the US, but that was my first time out of the country, and out of the country without like my support system.
Yeah.
So it was really, really intense. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like
That's the kind of trip that will change you forever.
definitely.
You know what I mean? Like you'll never come back the same.
Mm-mm.
You know, what kinds of, so I mean, obviously you guys were there. that you were helping by sharing their story, because
I hope so. Yeah.
if nobody knows the story, then they don't know that they can help. They don't even know what's going on, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But how do you feel that changed you, I guess, from, previously how you were, to after that trip? Do you think anything changed?
I think I kind of like, I remember our first interview. We were going down to this park, and I remember my stomach was just in knots. And I told my professor, like, I can't do it. I was like, I can't go. Like, I'm getting anxious. Like, I just can't do it. And I was sitting in my room. They had all gone down to the lobby, and I was sitting in the hotel room by myself. And I was like, Jessica, like, you can't fly out this far and give up like this. Like, we have to push through. So I was like, okay. So I went downstairs and I met up with everyone. My stomach was still in knots. I felt like I was going to throw up, but I pushed through it, and I went, and I got to, meet all these wonderful people with stories to tell. And I think it just taught me, like, don't give up. Like, things are tough, but obviously other people have it tougher. And if you're trying to help, like, help. Don't just call out, like, 'cause you're not feeling great. Like, go out there, tell their story, help them. I know it's, like, scary, it's new, but, like, just try it and, push yourself to new limits.
Yeah. So you kind of made a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really intense.
Yeah. So that kind of gave you like a confidence, or maybe like things are not as bad as you made them before in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's like, just try. Like, I feel like, I built things up in my head of what can go wrong.
Yeah.
So then it's
We all
just like,
do.
yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, just go and experience it. And if it's bad, then and then if it's not, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a great trip, and I went with a group of friends, and so it was a really big group of us, and we all, were together and were each other's support systems, because one of the girls, Jana, she spoke Arabic, so she was actually, like, conversating with them and actually hearing their stories in person, right? Because we can't. A lot of us couldn't understand what they were
Right.
saying.
Right. She was like the translator.
She was, and so I know, like, it was so intense watching her, like, having those conversations,
Yeah.
because I could see it on her face, like, what they were saying was very emotional, like, very heart wrenching,
Yeah.
and so she took on a lot, and, like, I'm like, she's so strong for
Yeah.
like, and she's actually I think she is from Syria,
Okay.
so
Wow.
she was, like, listening to the stories of her people, and it was like, I was like, I don't know how she does it. She's so strong. I
Yeah.
was like, that's intense.
That's crazy. It's kind of like she was watching it live while you guys are like watching the subtitles after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's cool though. That's a very unique experience. So
Yeah.
that was all. So as you guys can see, she has experience to be a co-host and be part of this, right?
I hope so.
That was like kind of like really intense journalism, basically, right?
Yeah, it was. It really was. And I mean, I had, like, my favorite professor with me, who is from Afghanistan, and she is amazing. Like, her stories are great, and she's a really great reporter. So it was really great having her as, like, a mentor.
Okay.
And then we had our other professor who, I think she spoke a little bit of Italian. So she was both of them were great. Like, they were my favorite professors in college. So it was really nice going on a trip with them and already having that relationship with them, and just, like, having them there as, like, a support system as well. So it was a great trip. That kind of stuff.
Some real
so.
hardcore journalism.
Yeah, it was. I'm grateful for it.
And so that was a school trip?
Yeah, it was a study abroad trip.
Wow.
And that, like, we had to do a study abroad trip to graduate. It was one of the requirements. So they had different options, but I definitely, like, took this one because my friends were taking it and my favorite professors were leading it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, it was a no doubter. Like, I got to take this one.
Yeah. Well, I think you're pretty glad that you did.
I'm definitely glad I did. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, by the way, if you've ever traveled abroad and had any type of amazing experience, please let us know. Leave it in the comments, right? So we're going to talk about some things today. Mainly we want to talk about relationships, the Olympics, and figuring out how to follow your bliss. But let's talk about it because we have a unique perspective here, because you are a millennial.
Yep.
And I am Generation X, right? And we are now both basically single in this new generation, which is, I don't know if you call it Gen Z or if you call it like,
I think it's Gen Z.
yeah, Gen Z, or maybe the one before Gen Z. So anyways, we're both single, and different generations, different maybe ways of how dating was in my day and then your day and then how it is now. So we're going to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm 43 and you're 30,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a 13-year difference. That's about two generations, maybe
Yeah.
maybe one
Maybe one,
one
yeah.
giant generation. But yeah, so I remember when I was young, and basically there was really no dating apps back then. There was no smartphones. We still had payphones. We had pagers.
Oh my God, you're ancient.
Yeah, right. Do you guys know what pagers are? Right?
Back in my
Yeah,
day.
right. We had a payphone and a pager. Yeah, so we would do pagers and like pager codes, and
Oh my God.
there was no social media. So if you did some stupid shit, the only people that would know were the people that were there, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a different time because people communicated. People actually had phone conversations. Texting wasn't a big thing; it was starting to come out, right? But I've also dated in the texting generation, and then the social media and dating app generation. And another thing we're going to talk about is how do you find friends, at this time, especially me, because, in your 40s, maybe in your 30s too, this is where like most of your friends are already either married, starting to have families. And if you're not on that little path, you're kind of like,
They're kind of like, bye.
yeah,
Like, all right, we're off. Yeah, definitely. I mean, so do you think it was less stressful dating in like your era without like the texting, without like thinking like, oh my God, when are they going to text me back? Like, did you ever feel like that? At, like, when are they going to call me back? Was it more like, all right, I had my like 2 hour phone conversation, like I'm good. Like, was there a big difference, you think?
that's a great question. So there was no ghosting. There was no, are they going to call me back? Pretty much, obviously, because it's going to date me, but when you called somebody, it was a landline and they had to pick up. And if they didn't pick up, their mom did. And you'd be like, is such and such there? And their mom would say yes or no, right? It wouldn't be like they're not there, right? So I guess to answer your question, no, there wasn't a lot of that. And, not to toot my own horn, but back then it was I didn't have a lot of issues dating, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I would never get turned down by anybody. But to answer your question, I think it was almost impossible to ghost somebody because you knew where they lived. Their landline rang at their house, and somebody was going to pick
And
it up.
they didn't have caller ID, right? Yep. So you
Yeah,
gotta pick it up.
so you don't know who it is,
Yep.
right? You're like, hello. And actually, they say back then, putting someone on ghost would be letting the phone off the hook so it's busy.
Right? That's
So
true.
we're trying to call and it's busy, right? So no, I don't think we had a lot of that. I think you actually had to learn how to communicate with somebody, because if you didn't know how to communicate back then and you couldn't carry a phone conversation, that's where you would lose the person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just remember so many times when you really like somebody, staying on the phone till like 2 a.m, like literally falling asleep on the phone, something that's
Yeah.
kind of lost nowadays.
I think people kind of do that nowadays, but they do it with like FaceTime.
Yeah, FaceTime.
They
Yeah.
FaceTime each other and
Yeah.
then fall asleep, and then one screen records.
Yeah.
Like, look at they fell asleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen some of that.
I do appreciate FaceTime though,
Yeah, that's a good feature.
because, it's almost the closest you can get without being in person, right? So what about you? Like, talk about, maybe when you first started dating to the changes now. Have you felt that kind of issue or those kind of problems a little bit?
To be honest, I haven't really had a crazy dating life. I feel like movies and media like kind of place an unrealistic expectation of what you're gonna go through. Like, I feel like I was expecting like, all right, I'm gonna be in high school, I'm gonna meet someone, we're gonna fall in love, and we're gonna like be forever together. You know what I mean? Like that whole like step after
Fairy
step.
tale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was in high school, and it was just like, like I had crushes, but there was no one that where you're like lock eyes and oh, I love at first sight,
Yeah.
nothing like that. And so like I really didn't date throughout like high school and college, so that's why it's like a new. I mean, I did a little bit, and when I started dating, I was using the apps, like whatever dating app
Mhm.
was out there.
What was the top app when you just started using them?
I think Tinder was.
Tinder, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's more of like a hookup app now. I think I don't know. I know there's like different like.
It was like the first major one,
I think it was. Like, I just remember like going on there and like swiping with my
Yeah.
friends. I'm like, oh, look, this one liked me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that was, I used that one, but yeah, so I remember like my friends all dated, and I remember being in high school and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna be together forever.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're so young and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
they're the it couple.
Yeah.
The it couple, and then they like obviously break up, but I just remember like looking back, it's so funny being that young and be like, oh my god, those two are gonna be together forever, you guys. Like, they're so cute. And I was like so naive too, because when I grew up kind of sheltered, I guess. So when I was in high school, when people were dating, I was like, oh, that's cute. Like, they hold hands and they like kiss,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all they do.
Yeah.
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 Right? Yeah.
Well, obviously they can't do the other stuff
No.
at school, right?
Yeah, I was like, no, because they're too young. They wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
that's for marriage.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my, rude awakening for me. I was just like, oh, okay, like, oh.
Oh, wait a minute. They
Like,
started
wait.
before high school?
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah.
That's not what my mom told
Yeah.
me.
So-
Yeah, I was a little sheltered with the whole like all that kind of stuff. And then my best friends were my neighbors, and his dad was a pastor, and so like I had a very like, you know what I mean. So I wasn't really, I don't know. I was very sheltered, and I was very back then in that age. I was very close-minded when it came to things, and I think that really hindered me
Yeah.
because my friends. I mean, we're young. They're gonna experiment. They're gonna try drugs. They're
course,
gonna do
yeah.
that, and I was like I would get so upset. I'd be like, why are you doing that? You shouldn't be doing that. And I'd get so angry. And I remember being like looking back, I'm like, why did I cared so much? Like, I don't know why. I think just 'cause it was so ingrained in me, like, you're not supposed to be doing this. That's not right. And so then I would get so upset that they would do it. But yeah, young me, I wish I could just go back and just like be like, no,
Yeah.
like don't judge people. Like, let them live their lives. Like, you're fine. Like, if you want to try it, try it. It's not like bad that people are experimenting and living their lives.
Yeah, there's a couple things that you said. First of all, the fairy tale, right? So we all get, so I can speak from, maybe 15 plus more years or whatever of experience, right? So the fairy tale, it is not like how it is in the movies, guys. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not, right? I mean, there is relationships that
Yeah.
last from high school, but to me, a long-term relationship is hard work.
100%.
Like, I mean, yeah, you do fall in love, and that little oxytocin rush,
Mm-hmm.
it eventually goes away, right? And eventually you have to get to know the person. Eventually you have to compromise. Eventually you have to really commit and work through it, and it's not going to be perfect, right? So number one, the fairy tale is not real. Sorry.
No, like 1 in a million, maybe.
yeah,
but yeah.
maybe. And even they have problems.
Yeah, it's
You know what I
not.
mean?
Yeah, nothing's ever gonna be perfect because I mean, even in like movies, they cut, right. That's a 2-hour span. Like, it's not a lifetime.
That one perfect scene probably took like 8 hours of filming
Yeah,
for
right.
that one scene, right? And the second thing was, so you mentioned Tinder, right? So I started dating apps when it was AOL chat rooms.
Oh my god.
So
Chat room.
by the way, it was even better back then because everybody was on the same platform.
True.
So imagine like everybody and their mother is on the same thing, and there's like gazillion chat rooms. Like, I still remember. So I think it was 1996. I believe it's 96. We
I
got
was 5.
when she was 5. I got my first computer, right? And I was probably 18-ish, maybe 95. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
AOL comes out. You used to get this like CD, and you have to
Oh my
download it,
gosh.
right? And it's funny how we're so angry when our internet's not like
I know,
super
like so
fast. Talk about dial-up. I remember when you, yeah, it would take at least 3 to 5 minutes just to log on. A Gen Z would lose their shit if they had to dial on right now, right?
I know. My dad is, I think, he's obviously older than you, but
Yeah.
he's still like so impatient with things like internet, and I'm like, how are you this impatient? Like, didn't you grow up like you weren't even like when you were growing up, computers didn't even exist. Like,
Yeah.
how are you so impatient?
He's modern now, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, your dad's super modern, right? So I remember AOL chat rooms, and like,
Yep.
just imagine like being a kid and you just get handed the keys to like you're now connected to the world. Yeah, like I used to be stuck there for hours and just chatting, and we used to have like screen names and like.
Oh, I remember my screen name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was Animal Lover 124.
Oh, there you go. Right.
Yeah.
Mine. Don't sue me here.
Oh gosh.
Actually, a girl told me to get it. It was Green Eyed Chulo,
Oh no.
Because I used to have green eyes. They're like hazel now, but I'm like, what do I pick? She's like, green-eyed Chula. I'm like, okay. Now now it sounds really stupid, right? But I actually still have that email.
That's amazing.
That's the email I use for all my junk stuff. Like, when they say sign up for 10%
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
That's my AOL email, right?
That's so funny.
So I probably had that email for 25 years
Wow.
or more, 26 years. Wow. So anyway, so it was AOL chat rooms. And then I remember the dating apps were like Plenty of Fish. I don't know if you remember that one. Yeah, but that one's like whatever. And then MySpace comes along.
Oh my God, MySpace.
Actually, believe it or not, MySpace and Facebook, those became like ways to meet people.
True,
right?
true. Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know if you experienced this, but I remember when MySpace came along, like, because obviously in my generation, if you didn't see somebody after high school, you basically probably never saw them again in your life, right?
Bye. Yeah.
Unless you just randomly ran across them in like the grocery store or whatever, which doesn't really happen anymore. So imagine from not seeing people for 10, 15, 20 years. Well, not that long because MySpace is a long time. Well, let's say 10 years. And all of a sudden, bam, there they are. And they're your top friends.
Yeah, top 8. You gotta be in the top 8.
So you had so many people like reconnecting that hadn't like seen each other for years and hooking up and all this crazy stuff. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. And I think honestly, what it did, at least from my experience, and you could share yours, you might not have a different experience of mine because I went from where you could only meet the people that was your circle. Wherever you lived, the city, wherever you went, that's where you met people, right?
Yeah.
To all of a sudden, I can meet people in different countries from the privacy of my own little AOL computer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now I'm meeting people like in different cities and different counties. And I even met people from different countries, and we're chatting and making friends and dating, right?
Yeah.
So for me, initially, it was like the gates opened up, right? I don't know. What was your experience, kind of?
I think MySpace came out when I was in, I want to say high school or middle school. And I remember it was such a big thing. And I remember like everyone had their pages all fancy and like
your theme music.
Yeah, your theme music, your background. And I just remember like the top 8. Like top 8 was such a thing. Like if you weren't in someone's top 8, it was like, am I your friend?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like friendship over? Are you like, you don't want me as a friend anymore? Like I remember that. And also, I know gaming, actually. I've met a lot of people through just gaming. Like, I've known someone for, I think, almost 10 years. Like, we played a video game together, and we hit it off, and, like, we're just homies now, and we still play together to this day. So I think that was an interesting aspect, too, just, like, online gaming, just meeting random people playing the same game as you.
What game would you play initially? What was the one game that you met the most people?
I played Destiny. That was like I forget when that came out, but that's where I met one of my close friends. I grew up with a lot of guy friends. Like all my most of my close friends that I would hang out with that were like lived close to me were boys. So I was always like trying to keep up with the boys. So I'd be playing Halo 3 and all those like type of shooters. And I'm not the best, but I think I hold my own. But those are some toxic chat rooms.
Oh,
so
I can imagine. I've heard. Yeah.
yeah, it gets real bad, especially if you're a girl. So I would never talk. I just keep my mouth shut because it's a lot of, like, what are you doing? Make me a sandwich or, stuff like that. And I'm just like, I don't want to hear this. So,
so a lot of male toxicity on
Oh, 100%. I mean, definitely if I ever have kids, I'm never letting them play. Like, I'll let them, you can play those games, but you don't get to wear a headset till you're like 8, like grown adult, because they're so bad, like so toxic in there.
So they can handle it, right?
Yeah. And then I played Sea of Thieves. There's a lot of games that, you are like multiplayer and you can just talk and like meet people. And if you find like-minded people, it's fun because then you're like, oh, cool. Now I can, I have a hobby and other people to enjoy it with.
I think gaming for you was like what AOL is for me.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't playing video games, but we were chatting basically, and there would be people that would go in the chat rooms and say crazy stuff. And
oh gosh,
I'm forgetting it, but you would literally like see someone's screen name and look them up, and then like shoot your shot like in the chat room, right? Yeah, and if they like you have to shoot your shot like
you gotta
when everyone's there, right? And there was like codes and all. It was crazy, right?
It was so weird.
So somewhere along the lines, I think it maybe was Facebook or like stuff like that, or like Hot or Not, right?
Mhm.
It became where you like somebody and they said no, to now it was like a rating system.
Yeah, it's like a game.
Yeah, they gamified it. So actually, that's a good point. They gamified dating or
Mhm.
interacting or meeting people, because back in the day, you had access to message that person whether they liked you or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you would just get the messages, right? But now it's like you don't even get a chance to talk to the person unless they approve,
Right.
which is kind of crazy. You know what I
It's
mean?
weird. And it's weird, like, I feel like when people are on dating apps, you're not really trying to engage with that person. It's very just like, are you immediately attracted to them? You know, it's just like, yep, no, yes, no. Like, I don't feel like anyone actually takes the time to be like, all right, let me look through your profile and see what your interests are. It's
Maybe
just like,
girls
yes,
do, but
no.
guys definitely
No,
don't.
right? It's just like, boop, boop,
Yeah,
boop.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, there's no substance. It's
Yeah.
just like you're hot, you're not. You're
Yeah.
hot, you're not. So it's very interesting.
That's a good point, because I remember. So you just reminded me of something. I remember when I would meet girls in the past, before all this, they had to like my personality before. I mean, they would like me physically, right?
Yeah.
But you had to really get to know them, and they had to get to know you. And if you didn't have a good personality, like, you had no game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was fortunate because my dad's very funny, right? Naturally, that I picked up that like kind of funny, charismatic type
Okay.
personality. So I remember one of my longest girlfriends when I was young. She was super hot, like everybody wanted her. But I didn't even go in like trying to date her. I went in as the wingman for my friend. Yeah, and we stayed in a car from midnight till 3 a.m. talking. Not like, oh, you're hot, let me hit it or whatever, let me
Mhm.
whatever. It was like, hi, let's talk, let's crack jokes, let's see your sense of
Yeah.
humor. And literally, because I spent 3 hours making them laugh the whole night, she started to like me a lot. And I remember she told her friends, like, hey, because she was like, she had her pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, no, I want Isaac. And then they're like, why? Well, because he was making me bust a gut the whole night. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So we literally got to connect, and she got to know, oh, this guy's funny, he makes me laugh,
Mm-hmm.
before we even did anything else, right? And so that was kind of like most of my dating interactions when I was young, because that's how you had to do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You had to have confidence, or at least a guy,
Mhm.
so I took a social anthropology class in college.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is wrong, sue me, right? Or sue Deanza College, because this is where I took it, right?
Don't sue
Yeah.
us.
I'm just kidding. Don't sue me. Anyways, I might be wrong. Whatever. Don't listen to this, right? But this class taught us that 80% of men and 80% of women think the same way, right? There's 20% outliers on each side, right? So if you're different, you're probably the 20% on each side, or 10% on each side, right? So men are visual, most of them. 80% of men, they learn with sight. That doesn't mean that we're shallow and we just like your looks. That's how our brains work. So if our brains are visual, everything we learn, see, like is visual. So if we're not triggered visually, like enticed visually, it's a real hard chance for us to like the woman, right? And women are verbal. So you could be a super hot, good looking guy, but if you are like a dull as a rock, you don't have any personality, you will instantly become ugly. Whereas a guy, as long as you're visually appealing to the guy, you could be pretty much dumb as a rock and they don't care, right? You know what I mean? But then there's a 10% on each side, that some women that think kind of like men, they're very visual, and some men that are like, they want, sapiosexuals or whatever. They want
Mm-hmm.
to be enticed mentally. So what I learned is, and this is social anthropology again, right? And I'm just saying this to help men and women understand each other, because the biggest challenge I think that we face is that we think like each other.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So women are like, why are guys like that? I don't get it, because you're thinking they should think like how I think, because I like the personality, I get to know somebody, I'm picky. So women's supposed to be very picky, because it goes back to caveman days. So when we had the little reptilian brain, you know what I mean, where we're kind of instinctual.
Yeah.
So what really attracted men was a waist hip ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't necessarily looks. It was stuff that triggered, ooh, fertile, I can have kids with them, right?
Yeah.
So it was like waist hip ratio. It was full lips. It was like, stuff that was like triggered our brains like, oh, the good mate for children, right?
Yeah.
For women, they had to pick the good hunter.
Yeah.
Because back then there was wild animals, there was famine, there was other tribes trying to kill you, right? So if you didn't pick a good hunter, your kids you would get kidnapped by other tribes. You would have no food on the table. An animal would come, and so that's why men want to impregnate every young curvy thing they see, because instinctually that means our blood's going to survive. Because the more kids we had back then, because a lot of them died, the better. And women are hunter-gatherer selective, right? So if you're operating properly as a woman, you're very selective, right?
Yeah.
But we're also advanced now in
That's
society.
what I was like, we kind of,
we're not cavemen, right?
we've adapted, and we need to grow and
Yeah.
learn that that's not a good way to pick people
Yeah.
anymore.
So that's what they also said. They said, well, nowadays we're not cavemen anymore, right?
Yeah.
But it's still very strong in our brains, right? So the more advanced a person is, the more they operate now. So nowadays, if a man had a bunch of kids from a bunch of different women, that's not a good thing. That means child support and you're broke and you're like a loser, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's the family unit that is because it's all about survival of the children. That's my point. Everything boiled down to how can we make sure our kin survive, right?
Well, I think even like if you look at it nowadays, I think there's less people from my generation and probably Gen Z. Like I feel like less people are going to have kids, because I feel like back when it was like that was your job as a woman, right? It was like you're housewife, you have kids, you take care of the
Right.
like that's it. And then I think nowadays more women are like, I can choose. Like maybe I don't want kids.
Or career oriented.
Yeah, and it's like even like I mean, if you look at, I know a lot of people think if you look at the way the Earth is going right now, like why would I want to bring a kid into it right now? Like we're not taking care of this place that we live in. We're just billionaires are trying to leave, and we're all just like pointing the fingers like, no, you do something, no, you do something, So people are like, I don't want to bring a kid into the world when it's like this. So I think there's definitely like a lot of change from like even like baby boomers, them to like your generation to there's just so much like shifting, I would say. And for I think for women too, when it comes to dating, it's a lot scarier. Like for men, like if you're out, right, and you see a girl, you feel comfortable like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to them. But for women, it's like so scary to be out there, like out and about, and just have a random guy come up to you. It's like, oh my God, he's gonna, spike my drink. Like, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna follow me home later? Like, it's just like when I mean, I just think that like in women's heads, we're always having to think like he could be a nice guy.
Right.
I hope he's a nice guy, but you have to have that little inkling like he could be awful.
Yeah.
He could do something terrible. Like you always have to be on your guard. So I think it's really hard like to be out and dating in general.
Yeah, it's also kind of like okay, you said a couple good things. So first of all, the role as a woman has changed big time, right?
Yeah.
Because from when my parents were young, divorce was you're the weirdo. Like divorce was like taboo, right?
Yeah.
To where my generation, okay, it wasn't that bad. It was maybe like 30%. To where now it's like getting a new pair of underwear, pretty much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm tired of you. I'm but and so there's that, right? And then there's the other thing where, from my generation on, women became more career oriented.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of in a weird scenario because I look so young, and I'm not saying that because I feel it. It's just what I hear, right? That I meet more girls in their 20s, like mid to late 20s. I mean, I've met girls that are super young, but it just there's no. I mean, it's
not super young. They were of age. They were 21.
I mean, like 22.
Okay,
yeah.
There we go. That's
sorry.
Let's clarify.
Thank you for clarifying
not
that.
super young.
Everything,
super young is 21 to him.
Everything legal. So 22 is like super young for me, right?
Okay, there we go. Whew.
But like where there's an attraction, but then there's like no mental like connection. It's like, well, I don't even get them. It's like, what? You know
What's
what I mean?
TikTok?
Yeah. No, I know TikTok,
Yeah,
but it's like it's just weird, right?
Yeah, it's different.
But then I go, okay, so let me try to date women around my age, right? And then I met a lot of people. So it's weird. 37 seems to be like the year if I go towards my age,
Mm-hmm.
because I think anything older, like I want to have kids,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and you're a woman. I mean, women know the older you get, the more dangerous it is,
Yeah.
the more it's risk to the kid, right?
For both. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
dangerous for both mom and kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, shoot, if I want to meet somebody and have kids, like if they're close, I mean, if they're my age, I can pretty much forget about it. So technically, I cannot really date anybody my age.
I mean, but there's modern medicine now. I think
Yeah,
women are able to have kids a little later in life nowadays.
true, but it's very risky. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and I think most women that are maybe in their 40s have already decided whether they
Mhm.
want kids or not.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, that's very true, because I've heard of women having kids in their 40s and the
Yeah.
kids are fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's my like rock and a hard place here. It's like, okay, if I truly want to have a family, I need to go a little younger because I need to have a woman who's around the age where she's mature enough now, because
Mhm.
obviously a 22-year-old ain't gonna do nothing mentally,
Yeah.
right? Unless they've been through some shit, you know what I mean? Probably like a Syrian refugee that's seen people
Maybe.
die. Maybe they're a little bit more mature, but so like maybe mid to late 20s, because then we can get to know each other, fall in love, the fake fairy tale, right?
Yeah.
And then know each other well enough to go, okay, this is a person I want to have kids with, and she's
Mhm.
still maybe 30, or 29 or 32, so that she's got time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, because it's not like you're gonna meet someone, babies.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
right.
so you have to meet someone, date someone,
Yeah.
getting
Well,
we already
that's the way you're supposed to do it, right?
get engaged, get
Yeah.
married. Then that's gonna take at least
Yeah.
I would think 5 years. I don't know.
I honestly, I might have kids before the marriage thing because I'm
I'm gonna
divorced.
tell your mom.
No, but I mean, it's about being still with the person.
Yeah.
But I think the marriage thing is not as important as the kid because of my age and whatever. Because I mean, I do look young, but I mean, I'm 43. I'll be 44 this year. So realistically, the earliest I can have a child is 45, 46.
Yeah.
So now, when my child is in their teens, I'm in my mid to late 50s. Now, I take care of myself. I'm plant-based. I work out. But a teenager in your 50s, like, you got to have some energy, right?
Yeah.
Especially even a young kid in your 40s, like running around, not sleeping and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things I got to consider, right? But yeah, so going back to your point, I've met a lot of women that are in their mid to late 30s that haven't had children. And it's kind of like, I'm not going to say sad because it's a choice, but you could see it kind of in their eyes that like they kind of missed the boat. You know what I mean? They kind of listened to everybody, and now they're in the place where they're like, okay, I have to accept. Like I don't know if they're just. I mean, maybe they say what they're saying is true, but it almost seems like they're just like, well, I chose my career. I started maybe dating a little late in life, so now it's like I may not ever have kids. You know what I mean? Or they have to adopt or stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like a tough thing for, these women who become career oriented or start late or stuff like that. You know what I mean?
It all depends too, because I think that was like the eye opening thing was that like some women don't want to have children. Right. And I think that was like for older generations, it's like, what?
Yeah. For especially
what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like my dad, I think he has a twin, he has 2 twin sisters, he has an older brother and a younger. So he has like a big family. Like a lot of older generations had like 6 to 8 kids. And so when women are saying, you know what, actually, like, I don't want kids, like that's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of money, and maybe it's just not the right time. And I mean, like personally, I'm adopted.
Okay.
My parents adopted me when I was a week old.
Oh, wow.
And so my birth father and my birth mother I think my birth mother was in her senior year of high school and my birth father was in the army. And so for them, they were just young.
Right.
And they just didn't feel like they could take care of a child. So they were like, like, we're not ready for this. Let's like give it to someone who is, and who maybe, because my mom can't have kids. She was infertile, or like there was something going on.
Your adopted mom.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like they weren't ready for kids. So they chose to have me and then give me to a family that could afford to have a kid and could raise a kid and
appreciated a kid.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I feel like there's so many more options for women, and like even me, like I don't know if I want kids because that's a lot of responsibility.
You know what? That's something important because most people don't understand, or they're just selfish. Because like I think Elon Musk said it. He said, "My kids owe me nothing. They didn't choose to be in this world. I owe them everything. I brought them into this world." You know, so your parents, even though it must have been super difficult for your mom, they wanted you to have a good life, right?
Exactly.
So and then you did, right? You ended up in a really good family, like you said, upper middle class. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I mean that is also like another important factor of it, right? It's like there's a lot of kids out there that need to be adopted that need to have good homes. You know what I mean? Have you met your biological parents?
Not yet. So originally it was supposed to be an open adoption, but I think it was too hard on my birth parents, so they made it closed.
So they didn't want to know at all.
Yeah. So I know I have a letter from them that they wrote me talking about why they did what they did and all this. I mean, it's very touching, and like every time I read it, I'm like, oh. You know. But I definitely I still want to meet them. I just I'm just lazy, and I haven't took the time to contact the adoption agency. I think it closed down, and I'm sure the records are somewhere. But
so it's gonna be a process.
Yeah, it's gonna be a project that I'd have to really. But I'm 30, and I should have. I can't find them. I could have siblings.
Yeah. So I mean, let's talk about that. That's another important topic. Not wanting kids, right?
Yeah.
And again, everybody has a right to choose, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, if you're not selfish, if you understand the responsibility of having a child, and the older I get, the more I understand the responsibility of having a child. Like, it's literally self-sacrifice. Like you don't matter anymore.
No, you're done.
If you're a good parent, you don't matter anymore.
Yep, and it's not even just to 18.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 18 is some myth.
Yeah. No, it's a lifetime. Like you.
Yeah. Yeah. Trust me, I know. My parents still kind of treat me like I'm 16.
Same.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're a good parent, it's always there. It changes the role. The role is supposed to change, by the way.
Yeah.
When they're adults, you're still the parent, but you treat them like an adult, right?
You would hope. Yeah.
You would hope, because that keeps the relationship more better.
Yeah. Balanced.
That's not bad grammar, but you know what I mean.
Balanced.
Yeah.
Healthy,
Balanced. Yeah. Healthy, right? But it's true. Like, having a child, you brought them in the world. You wanted to go and do whatever you want to do. So whatever happens to that kid, it's really your responsibility if you're a good parent. I mean, there's parents that go like, whatever, we don't even care. That's true. Right? Yeah. So that's one thing, is the responsibility. And then you mentioned it, like, and because I've had those thoughts too. It's like, do I really want to bring a kid into the world the way it is now? I mean, then you have climate change, and it's tough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I believe it's even tougher now, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, just, I don't know. But then again, what I've learned in life, what I see in my family, is it doesn't matter what happens around you. Mostly what happens in your home, right?
Yes.
If you train your kids well enough, if you educate them well enough, if you give them like the confidence and the ability, they can get along pretty much in any generation, right?
I agree.
But it is a lot crazier.
Yeah.
So you don't know if you want kids yet?
I don't know. Okay. It's just like it's a lot. Like it's not I don't think it's an easy decision. No? Like I don't think it should be like one, like, I mean, I guess if you feel like maternal like instinct, I guess maybe it's just like obviously I want kids, but for me, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm an anxious person.
Right.
So if I have kids, that's just gonna add another thing for me to be anxious about. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, yeah. I'm already get freaked out if my dog is like limping. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I gotta take him to the vet. Like exactly. So if I have a kid, everything's gonna be like, oh my god, they're coughing, they're gonna have pneumonia, or you know, everything's gonna be, I don't know. And then like when you have kids, you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna go to freaking Hawaii for the weekend.
Right.
Like if you have a kid, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Like most
or
likely.
you take them and they're crying the whole
but
way.
then it's like you're not even getting, the vacation you want because you're going to take care of your kid.
Right.
So it's like, and it's so expensive. Like already living in California is expensive, right? Like paying for your home.
Especially the Bay Area where we live.
Yeah. And so even just like putting another expense like of a kid on that's a lot. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. This might be controversial, but I believe people should have to take like a test and have to be like a certain financial position. Like, I mean, because having a kid is a privilege. It's not like, it shouldn't be a right. You know what I mean? I mean, I know that's probably controversial, but I think they would solve a lot of problems if someone had to be like mentally, financially. Like, it's like you got to do all that to buy a house. You know what I mean? But now you're bringing a new human into this world, and there's no test. Doesn't matter if you're like mentally capable. It doesn't matter. The kid's the one that suffers.
That's
right?
true, yeah.
Not the parents. So I honestly, I don't know. Don't hate me, by the way, right? But I believe there should be some type of at least um, criteria, to have a kid because it's only in the kid's best interest,
I mean, that
right?
would be like impossible to do because
Right.
there's millions of us.
Yeah.
Like, knock, knock, knock. Time for your annual, like,
Hey, the
if you can get
Census Bureau,
oh
right?
my God. If you can get pregnant or not. No, that would be, that would be like government, like, controlling our bodies.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I
You
think
guys
no,
think
they
it should be?
I think I understand your idea, but that would be insane.
Yeah.
Because then they'd have to do something that would prohibit
Yeah.
getting
Or
pregnant.
fine them or something.
N-
Tax them.
Oh, gosh.
The kid
Oh,
tax.
no.
The idiot tax.
No.
If you're a TTD or you can't have a kid. Sorry.
Oh, my gosh.
Just kidding. Not really. Anyways, Elon Musk said that though. He said, "Why is it?" By the way, this is Musk's words, not mine. He said, "Why is it that the stupid people are breeding more than the intelligent people?" He's like, "We
Oh.
should be the ones breeding and creating more of whatever us."
He should be, sticking his money in more important issues than going to space then, Mr. Elon. If you're so smart, why are you wasting billions of dollars to go fly in space for 2 seconds?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're as smart as you think you are, buddy.
Yeah. I think, like you said in the last podcast or the last one we had, I think they've just conquered pretty much everything they could on this earth, and they're bored.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
mean, I mean, there's so much they can do here, though. That's what's frustrating is, like, I understand they're like, I'm rich and, like, I've discovered everything that I want to discover here. Let's go out there and, like, see what, but, like, how about you just help your fellow humans? Like, we're all suffering. Like,
Yeah.
the earth is suffering and you can help. Like,
yeah, but
come on.
if you think about it, that's already kind of happening right now with the stimulus about giving people money. So I spent the last 10 years in a success organization with self-made multimillionaires, people that had nothing and built it all to the top. And what I learned is that the reason people are successful, and by the way, don't sue me either, this is the truth, is because of how they think. It has nothing to do with where they grew up, their situation, the man is on them. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how hard they work, how they think. Maybe they went through a lot of shit in their life, so they're mentally tough. You know what I mean? Because you don't become a billionaire if you're a pansy. You know what I mean? You don't become a billionaire or millionaire if you're not good with people or if you're not a hard worker. Like they said, like Elon Musk would work 20 hours a day at one point because Tesla was about to fail. By the way, people forget about that. Tesla was failing like about 10 years ago. People were talking shit to him because he sold PayPal, got $350 million. Most people would be like, shoot, I'm rich. I'm done. He took that money and invested all of it in two companies, Solar City and Tesla. When everyone thought solar was weird and they thought electric cars are never going to happen, and they almost didn't. Tesla was failing. He worked 20 hours a day for like 6 months, and he basically single-handedly saved Tesla. But now they see him and go, oh, you're a billionaire, you're lucky. But I bet you anything, 99% of people would not have done that 20 hours a week for 6 months and invested $350 million and went broke instantly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I've learned is that it's not, so we're looking at it now, right? We're looking at giving people money. Why do people don't want to go to work? Why is everyone stuck at home being what they call lazy, right? Because they're being given money, right? So if that argument was that if you just give people money, everything's going to get better, well, that means that all these people would be like, oh, everything's great. I'm going to go back to work and work harder because I was given money and I was helped out while I needed it. Instead, it's kind of enabling millions of Americans, which I don't blame you, by the way. Like, if you are making more money on unemployment and you want to go get a crap job and make less money and deal with, risking your health or dealing with, idiots at work or whatever, I would probably choose the same thing.
I mean, it's the system's fault, not the people. Like, it's not their fault that that the system that's set up is benefiting them in a way that, work doesn't. Like, why put yourself through all that if the government, it's not their fault?
Yeah.
But I think it is a little naive to say that it's not where you come from. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people aren't given the opportunity if they are born in certain areas or they're a person of color or, things of that nature, like that. They're not given the opportunity to become a success. There's probably so many hardworking people that are out there like kicking, just doing everything they can, but no one's going to give them that opportunity to become, a visionary or some sort of like billionaire, like how to make that kind of money because I don't know. I think it's more than just like, you know, what you like the things that you laid, the criteria you laid out. I think there's more to it than like that to be successful. I mean, I think a lot of people just aren't giving the opportunity to become successful.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that. When I say that, I say America, because obviously, if you come from a third world country, a country where the government doesn't really allow you to do anything, you're killed if you try to do something different. So I agree with that. But when I say I talk about the United States of America, and then you're right. So they need an opportunity, right? So they say success is when mental toughness meets opportunity. So yeah, some people have not gotten the opportunity, but then there's people like, people like Kanye, who's now worth $5 billion, and he didn't really come from success, and he's African American, right? He's worth more than Trump, by the way.
I mean, but that's my point, right? Like he's the exception.
Right, but he's an exception because of the way he thinks.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
I'm just, but I feel like being like if you're white,
no,
you know what I mean? Like you're gonna have way more. Like if you like try to list out like successful people, and I say okay, like name like a white successful people, you can probably go like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. Like you can just keep going, and then you say okay, now name a person of color that like.
I agree with you.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing I'm saying is like white people, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, what's Richard Branson, all these people. The system is for them. It's like benefits them. Like the system of America that has been put in place benefits white men.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that
one. So I just think
they have a easier,
Yeah.
And
they were just given opportunity. Like it's just way easier for them to become successful, to become, what they are today. Because I'm sure there's so many smart people out there that could become potentially like them, but they're just not given that opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I've seen it, right? And so on the other end of that, I also believe that they want us to believe that, which is true. But the more you believe it, that okay, and I get it. I've seen racism like blatantly, right? Because I'm Mexican American, but when I was young, I looked white, right? So I had doors open for me because I didn't know what was going on, right? Like I remember it was like Cinco de Mayo, 1990 something. And we're walking across the street with me and all my friends, and they're all Hispanic and look Hispanic. And these cops on horses come up, and they go, you, and you, sit down. So they said to all my friends, they put me like, you, get out of here. And I was like, all right, peace, I had no idea what was going on. They arrested all of them, gave them like jaywalking tickets.
Oh my God.
And we were like 15 or 16. We couldn't afford no $800 ticket. So then I was like, oh, okay. I'm starting to see that, the way you look, I had green eyes, I was light skinned. I looked Italian, right?
Like white passing.
Yeah, I could pass, And I remember I was working for a professional NFL team. I'm not going to say the names, but I remember everybody thought they didn't know I was Hispanic, right? And I remember I was talking to this one guy, and then I'm like, they're like, "What's your last name?" I'm like, Estrada. They're like, "What are you?" I'm like, Hispanic. Like, oh, don't let nobody find out around here. It's like he'll be gone in an instant. And I was like, whoa. I was like, really? I was like, dang. So just stuff like that. So I do agree with you, right? But I also understand that, like, if you subconsciously feel like you already don't have a chance, why are you going to even try? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the victim mentality never helps you. It only weakens you and it hurts you. I get it. I know. I've seen it. I worked for football teams and majority African American, right? I remember we were driving down the freeway, and it was 3 African American coaches and myself, right? And the cop goes by and they all start getting nervous, and I'm just like do like dummy, like never had any issues. I'm like, oh, we're not doing anything wrong. They're not. And then all of a sudden the cop slows down, and he's like going same speed as me, and he's looking in the car, and then he slows down again and gets behind me, and then he follows me and he pulls me over.
Of course.
For no reason, but he makes up a reason, right? And then we're like on the freeway, and he's like calls us back up, and I'm just like, and I was like, dang, like this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I get it now. You know what I mean? People of color, especially ones that, not like me, which I don't look like. Well, now I'm more darker, right? But back when I was young, yeah, I do understand that you guys do kind of get a lot of opportunities taken away.
Yeah.
You get judged and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, when I've gotten pulled over once by a cop, I was
Yeah.
going 79, I think 78, 79, and the carpool lane, and he pulled me over for speeding, and I don't agree. Like, I was just going with the flow of traffic.
Yeah.
But when he pulled me over, he took, took my stuff down, came back with a ticket, and it was my first time ever being pulled over, right? So, and I'm white.
Yeah.
So I said, "Can I take a selfie with you? It's my first time being pulled over." And he said, "Sure." And so I have a picture of me, and I have a selfie, with this cop that pulled me over. And I'm like, and then like looking back, I'm like, that is like the epitome of like white privilege, right?
Yeah.
Like, I had no sense of like fear. I was just like, oh, let's take a picture with this cop.
You weren't fearing for your life or anything. Yeah.
No, I was like, all right, it's my first time. Like, let's take a picture with this random cop. Like, it's just like, oh my gosh, like I can't imagine like being afraid. Like, that's such an intense, like, unreal thing, is that like the people that are supposed to protect you, you're like afraid of them. Like, that's like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I know. And so like recently like I said, I've had a lot of friends who are African American. I've dated some women who are African American or African, and I just see the difference when we're hanging out than when it's with other people. You know what I mean? It's weird. Like, so yeah, I feel you on that one, but I do also understand that the victim mentality doesn't help.
Oh yeah.
It only hurts you subconsciously, without even realizing it, And then some cultures, like I'm Hispanic, right? Like even within our own culture, we hate on each other. You know what I mean? Like, it's like crazy. It's like, oh, like you could do something good. Oh, you think you're all bad now? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on, we're supposed to support each other. And
right.
like, so like we're fighting against, cultural differences. Then we're fighting against racism. Then we're fighting against each other.
It's a fight. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, Jesus Christ.
I think it's really hard to get out of the victim mentality when, you just feel beaten down, right? Like, even when you're trying, it's just, no one's there to be like, let me, like, give me, like, hand out and be like, you know what? You're doing great. Let's, I feel like some people potentially think I'm working so hard, and I've been working so hard, but no one is there to see it, and no one is there to, like, help. Because you can't, it's really hard to do something on your own. No matter if you're working 24 hours a day. It's really hard. Like, it's not, I don't know. I feel like it's, especially if there's no one there's not something in place to help you when you are working this hard and you do have the potential, and there's no one there that's like sees that potential, then it's like, why should I try? Right? Like, I'm putting all this effort into something and it's going nowhere. So I feel like it's a double thing. Like, yeah, that doesn't help. Like, if you're going to be like pity party all the time, like, you're not going to get anywhere. But then again, if you're trying your hardest for years and years and years and there's no benefit to it, then it's like, why do I even want to keep trying?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one too. But they say everybody who's successful goes, yeah, this took me 25 years, and 25 years later, I'm an overnight success, right? So success does take time, just like this podcast, right? Like I started like 9 months ago. This is the second Bliss Seekers 2.0. I'm not happy with the results, but I also understand that I can't think that.
Yeah.
I can't doubt. I can't put doubt and worry get in my head. And who knows, maybe I'm farther along than most people in 9 months. I have no idea. I have no basis of what to like judge it by, right? But I always want more. I want to do it, and I know this is going to be successful. I know it's going to take some time. I know there's going to be people that are going to come and go, right? But I learned all that in the last 10 years of seeing people build organizations from nothing and go from nothing to multimillionaires, and the habits it takes, right? So I know, like you said, like, even if it does take longer than expected, and I hope it doesn't. Help us out, guys. Subscribe, share with your friend. But if it does take long, I think by now I'll be a little more mentally tough to handle it. But that's a big thing, by the way. It's mental toughness. Most people, and even me, I was a mental pansy before this company. We're mentally not as tough as we should be. You know what I mean? We're taught to be employees. Like, we're taught to look for jobs. We're not taught to look for opportunities, right?
True.
And it's not our fault. It's ingrained since like school.
Yep.
You show up at a certain time, you take a lunch at a certain time, you
Yep.
leave at a certain time. If you mess up, you get a bad grade. In entrepreneurship, that's how you learn, is by messing up. You know what I
True.
mean?
Yeah.
Like in school, you have to know everything before you do stuff. In entrepreneurship, you just got to screw it up and mess it up and do it, and that's how you learn,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's also like a, there's a lot of things stacked against
Definitely.
us, right? But yeah, I mean, so I agree with you. There's a lot of people that don't have opportunities, but I just want to say that if you live in the United States, it may be harder for some, but the opportunity is there for all
Yeah.
who want to work for it, who want to and you have to be tough, like
100%.
and don't shy away from bad things happening, adversity, because that's how you get mentally tough.
What do you always say? We always say we don't panic.
We don't panic, we pivot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And by the way, I got that from my previous mentor. I'm not going to steal it, but that's the second time. So he said, give me credit 3 times, then it's yours. So 2 more times, then I made it up, right?
So do you think it would potentially help if maybe they changed how the school system is?
Yeah, but do you know why the school system is like that?
To torture me?
No. Because the people in power want everybody to be like that.
Minions, yeah, little.
Like sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
And all the answers are in books, but nobody reads. The successful people said, okay, fine, we'll give you all the secrets, but we're going to put it in a book. Guess what? Nobody reads.
I said, I'll watch YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. If it's not on YouTube, we'll try to give you the answers. But yeah, so I think the school system, it should change, by the way. Some places are starting to adapt. So when I do have kids, I want to try to maybe put them in those like more modern schools where they don't try to funnel all kids into like one cookie cutter.
Yeah.
They try to learn the kid and see what their strengths are and let them choose for themselves. And so I think like actually one of my dreams is to develop a school that teaches kids stuff that you actually use in life.
Yeah.
Like my favorite meme is like, man, I'm so glad I learned about parallelograms instead of taxes, because parallelogram season's coming up and I got to do my parallelograms, right? So, teaches kids about money, about finance, about nutrition, about leadership, about people skills, about affirmations, about how you speak, about, think big. Because if you look at little kids, they think big. They're like crazy.
They want to be astronauts.
Yeah.
They want to be presidents. They they go big or go home when they're thinking. Do you think
so all these weird people in their lives made them think smaller and smaller and smaller, right?
That's true. Do you think like that kind of system is hindering people from like finding their bliss because you've been taught a certain way that you need to be like, work an 8 to 5 job and that's how you're going to, so then people that maybe are more passionate about other things feel like that they can't achieve it because they have to stick to the norm?
Yeah, that's exactly why I started this podcast, because like I said, the organization I was in the last 10 years, that's all they do is they try to reprogram employees to become entrepreneurs, to become leaders, to become big thinkers, right? And I noticed that it's difficult. It's almost impossible to change a fully grown adult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But those that were able to shed some of those limiting beliefs, some of that programming, they were able to become extremely successful, right? And help others. You know what I mean? So I do 100% think that that's what's preventing people. Not just that, parents, family, and parents is hardcore influence, especially if you're close and you have good parents. Like anything they say, anything they do, it makes an impact on you, whether you try to avoid it or not, right? So I just feel like because of the school system, because of parents, because of family, because of social pressure and them not being tough enough, they kind of fold and they follow that path.
Yeah.
And they don't ever learn, or they're just too afraid, because the one thing that prevents you from being successful is the pressure from your close friends and family. Because whether you realize it or not, the minute you want to do something different, you're going to lose a lot of friends and family.
Yeah.
Unless they're going with you.
Yeah.
And people, it's just too hard for them. It's too hard to lose those close friends and family. They say true friends share a common future, not a common past. Right?
Yeah.
But what I've seen, only from my experience, is that when they try to do something different, when they try to break away from the tribe, the pressure of the tribe is too tough, and they just kind of like fold back in and go back to the normal thing.
Change is hard.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I mean, it's hard enough for us to change ourselves.
Yeah.
That's how I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost impossible to change others. But hopefully through this podcast, through examples, through us following our own bliss.
I feel like I'm still trying to find mine.
Yeah, well, hopefully you find it on
I
this
know.
podcast, right? Yeah. And by the way, I'm 43, and I think I found it. You know what I mean? I think I'm close, but so don't feel bad, because sometimes it takes a while. You know what I mean? But yeah, I do agree. I do think that's hurting a lot of people, and hopefully people who tune into this and listen to this, maybe we start to make you think a little differently. Just because that's all it takes is for you to kind of like wake up from the from the matrix, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because I do feel like I'm woke, and being woke is a lonely thing too. Because imagine you wake up and everyone else is still sleeping, and you're trying to tell them, and they don't listen to you, or they get mad at you, and they think you know everything because you're woke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Woke kind of is like they say, ignorance is bliss. It is, right? Sometimes, right?
And it's hard too, because like it's like, even if you tell someone, hey, look, the system sucks. Like you should, like, you can do better than this. Like you don't need to be a pawn. Like you can be, but then it's like, okay, like I love that. But then I feel like people are like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
You know, like I like you like that mentality. Like, yeah, I love that mentality. But then it's like, okay, now what do I do now?
Well, now they don't tell them the truth. Okay, now you're awake. Okay, now you're going to spend the rest of your life relearning everything.
Yeah.
Forget everything you knew and relearn
Here we
everything.
go.
And hopefully you make it, right? Yeah. So I don't know. But hopefully through this podcast, our stories, our guests, us just chopping it up and talking, then maybe we'll wake some people up.
Hopefully.
Or at least inspire some people to think a little differently, you know. Eat a few more vegetables. Throw some vegetables in your diet. You know what I mean?
You're good.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
So yeah, we want to inspire people to find their true purpose, and we say follow your bliss, but it just means follow your highest excitement, right?
Yeah.
And I think the one way you will know that you're on the path is how much energy you have.
I have no energy. I must be on like the wrong path. I'm tired all day, every day.
Well, that also has to do with the other stuff sometimes, but I think if you were really in your purpose, like you want to wake up. Like you're excited to wake up every day because you're like fulfillment is daily.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wish that feeling for everybody, even if it's just for like a short period of time. I wish that feeling for a lot of people, because I remember when I was working for the NFL, that was at that time I was like 18, 19 years old. That was like my dream come true. And like I'd be in traffic, driving from Oakland to Napa in rush hour traffic. So I'm on the road stuck for 4 hours one way, 4 hours back. But I'm the happy as a clown.
Yeah.
I'm like blasting my CDs. I'm like super happy, and I look around and everybody's miserable.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, and I'm like, I'm happy. Why? Because I was following my bliss.
Yeah.
I was actually achieving my dream, or a taste of my dreams when I was 18 and 19. So maybe that's another reason why I'm so inspired to help people at least get a taste of it, because I had a taste of it when I was like 18.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm getting a little taste of it now, you know, and I know that most people don't do that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that when I was pursuing this job, this internship in the NFL, everybody was against me, even my own parents. Everybody was telling me not to do it. I'm chasing an impossible dream. They're never going to hire me. Why would they want you? And then when I got it, oh, look at,
oh, congrats.
yeah, I always knew you could do it.
Yep.
So I learned that very young, right? Not many people get that. So I just want to share stuff like that. And by the way, my clip on how to get an internship in the NFL is the #1 most watched clip on this channel to date. I think we're over 4,000 views now. Yeah. So it just shows that people do want to hear and learn about something amazing like that, right? But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about following your bliss and finding your purpose?
I feel like I'm still trying to find the pathway. Like I feel like I'm on a road, and there's just so many different directions, and I just don't know which one I want to go down. I don't know what it's going to entail when I choose one, and I don't want to make the wrong choice. I just feel like it's just not like linear for me. Like I'm unsure of which way to go and like how to figure it out.
So there's a quote that I love. I'm probably going to kill it because I haven't seen it in a long time. But it says, there are many things that will inspire your mind, but very few that'll inspire your heart. Pursue those. So the best advice I could give you is don't use your brain, use your heart. Too many people, so the brain has all the objections, by the way.
Yeah.
The brain has all the no's. It has all the fear. It has all the worry. Why? Because its sole purpose is to keep us alive.
Yep.
Right?
It's like none care.
Yeah. If you're like some of my friends who are adrenaline junkies, maybe that part of their brain broke because they're like jumping off cliffs and almost drowning and, you know, doing all this crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah. My brain will be like, girl.
Yeah. So maybe that brain's a little not working that properly as far as keeping you alive. But, I mean, I do appreciate them, too, because they say, hey, you know what? It's more just about not living in fear for them.
Yeah.
Like, they do not want to die, but they're not going to let fear stop them.
Mm-hmm.
If they die, they die, right? So our brain is designed to keep us alive. But I believe your purpose, your dream is put in your heart by God, by universe, by Allah, whatever you believe, and it's there, and it never changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're still wondering, you need to figure out a way to shut off the brain and listen to the heart. And I think the heart will tell you.
Listen to your heart.
Yeah, there you go, right? I'm not a singer, so I don't want to lose like a bunch of subscribers. We just got to 300. Woo! Yeah. Hey, it's a small milestone, but I appreciate it. You know what I mean? And because I know we're not stopping there, right? But yeah, I'd say try to listen to your heart. I think that. And sometimes we have to shut the mind off, and that's super difficult.
That's hard.
Yeah, that's why they say meditation is so powerful, because that's how you kind of you don't shut the mind off, but they say it's like the mind's like the freeway and cars are going, but you, instead of being in the car, you're like on the side of the road, and you're kind of just looking at the cars.
I see.
And going, because like you're in the car, you're like, oh my God, am I gonna crash? Where am I going? No, I gotta make it. But then you're outside the car, you're like, oh, look at that car. Huh. I wonder why that person is doing that. So that's kind of like what meditation does.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I would just say maybe follow your heart. It might take some time, you know what I mean? But anything that gives you energy, anything that gives you excitement, anything that gives you like the little butterflies in your gut, because your gut actually is like, they say it's like guardian angels. Like when I mean gut is like your intuition. Like you must follow that. Like people that make a lot of mistakes, the ones that don't listen to that. It's like the little thing saying, nope, don't do it. And you're like, nah, I don't know. Let me try it. Okay. You know what I mean? But listen to your instincts, listen to your heart, listen to what when you get excited, right? And, you know, the best example I could use, and then we'll switch topics and we'll kind of wrap it up, is kids, when they have to wake up for school, sucks.
Blech.
They don't get up.
I hate it.
But Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, give me up.
Oh my
I'm
God,
up.
you're up at 5 a.m.
I'm waiting.
You're the first person up.
Pokemon.
Why?
I was up. I was ready.
Because that was your heart. That was your highest excitement.
Right.
Like you could get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? But to get up at 7 the next day to go to school, oh my God, it's miserable. It sucks because that's not your highest excitement. Kids are following their bliss on Saturday morning cartoons. They're not following their bliss on school on Monday through Friday.
True.
Does that make sense? Unless they love school. There's some.
I mean, there you go.
There's
Maybe
some kids that are like that, you know.
Yeah.
And they love school and they're up early. They're the good students and all that. And it's great, right? All right.
Nerds.
You said it, not me. Right? All right. So let's just talk real quick about the Olympics because that's going on right now.
Yeah.
The 2020 Olympics is going on in 2021. Right?
Yeah.
Tokyo 2020. You know, for me, the Olympics used to be something super exciting. The whole family would watch. The whole world would watch, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I know we talked about this, but it just seems like this year is kind of weird. Like the excitement's not really there. It's just kind of like happening, but it's not really, the media's not really talking about it too much.
Yeah. And like the stadiums are pretty empty because Japan's like on crisis mode with COVID. And I'm just like, it's just like, and like this year, so I used to watch it every year with my best friends, right? I would go over, we'd like all get together and watch it. And like, you know, I have come to, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the USA, just like politically and, you know, what we're doing. But man, when the Olympics, I'm just like, America, we're better than all of
America.
you. Yeah. And we would sit down. But this year, my best friends moved to Texas, so I don't have them. And I'm just like watching them. And of course, like I love the athletes, like they're amazing. but it's not there. Like the excitement, the like anticipation, like all that kind of like stuff. It's just like not there for me for some reason, and I don't know what it is. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if anyone else is feeling like that, but it's different.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know if you guys are feeling that way. Let us know. Leave it in the comments. But yeah, I think so. I talked to one of the. I mean, I didn't talk to one. I saw one of the
You
athletes.
talked to them.
Yeah, yeah. No, the girl who won the taekwondo, the
Oh,
first
yeah.
gold medal in
Mhm.
so long, right? And she was like super fired up. But then they interviewed her the next day, and they're like, "Oh, how do you feel? Were you nervous?" She's like, "Eh." She's like, "Well, I qualified a year ago, so it was just kind of like this weird feeling. Like, are we gonna do it? Are we not?" So
Yeah.
so there was like no nervousness because it was like, "Oh, we're finally doing this, right?" So maybe it's like the buildup is not there because it should have been last year, and
Yeah, I
then
wonder like how different it is for the athletes, like to have waited a whole year. Like you're probably like all psyched, like, woo, and then it's like just kidding. Everyone's going through a pandemic, and then they hold it for a year, and then like Japan's still going through
yeah,
a pretty like harsh, reality with the pandemic hitting them really hard, and so like there's no one really in the stands right now, and it's just like so weird. Like I want especially the athletes, like they're competing on the world stage in empty stadiums. Like that's got to be so weird.
yeah, 100%. Because like I'm a UFC fan. I don't know if you are too. And we just had a professional MMA fighter in the podcast. Check out our last podcast with Ivan Batnich. But I remember watching the UFC fights with no fans, and it was weird.
It's weird.
Like you could hear everything. You could hear the coaches, and then I remember watching it like recently when McGregor snapped his leg in half.
Ugh.
But like the crowd was sold out, and the energy
Right?
it's completely
It's
different.
different. Like it's I mean it's like there's positive negatives obviously, but like the positive as a fan when there's no fans is like you get to hear everything, right? So you can hear the strategy, you can hear
Yeah.
like the innards of stuff. Like even like baseball, I remember when the stadiums were empty and you could hear like the players run, when they miss a ball, and then you're just like like it's so funny.
You're like, what's going on
Like,
here?
oh, he's so mad, but
Yeah.
but then like the fans bring so much energy.
Yeah, it's
Like,
energy.
It's insane. I remember going to game 7 of the Sharks versus the Golden Knights when the Sharks won in OT after Pavelski fell to the ice, broke his face open. The Sharks were down 3-0. They scored 4 goals in 5 minutes. It was
That must have been electric.
it was insane. I've never felt energy like I did that
Yeah.
like that day. Oh, that night. Oh my! It was like I can't even describe it. It was just like everyone was like we were all one, and we're all just
Yeah.
like it was
Yeah.
so intense, and it was just such a beautiful moment. And so like taking that away from sports is like it's like and
Yeah.
there's not that like and like
Yeah.
maybe you can be on your couch doing, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same as being with thousands of people.
I think the players feed off the energy too.
Definitely.
So I had the same experience. We went to the last game in Oakland. I think it was 2019. Yeah, it was 2019. It was Thursday night football, Raiders versus Chargers. And I'm a Raiders fan. And as a Raiders fan, 49ers fan, whatever, I don't hate the 49ers. But the energy is different from a 49ers game
Oh,
than a Raiders game.
100%.
It's completely different. If you've been to one, you know the difference. But that energy, I had not felt anything like that since the first game in 1995 when they came back to Oakland. You could if I was talking to you, it was so loud we couldn't hear
Yeah, you
each
can't
other.
hear.
We'd be like,
Yeah.
it was just, you could feel it, like all the hairs
It's
are
like they're like
standing up.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I remember they intercepted Phillip Rivers like 4 times and we won. Like I play for the team. They won, and it was the last game in Oakland.
Mhm.
It was a special moment. I'm very glad I was able to be part of that. But yeah, energy is such a big thing in sports.
It is.
Especially 'cause like combat sports or like, contact sports.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know about golf because, the
Everyone's quiet anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
but there's still some type of energy with the crowd,
Yeah,
what I mean?
definitely. I mean, if you make a good putt,
Yeah.
for birdie or what, and the crowd's just, and then you're like,
Yeah.
you get that confidence
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. But like those crazy sports like football, even baseball, the home run, right?
Yeah, even like I feel like comebacks might not,
Mm.
happen as much if there weren't fans. Because I
Oh,
feel like,
100%,
once you
yeah.
start on that comeback and you get the fans involved, then it's just
Momentum.
like you get that confidence, you get everyone behind you, you got
Yeah.
20,000 people screaming at you, then you're like, yeah, we're gonna win,
Yeah.
But then if it's like empty stadium,
Yep.
I mean, you still, they're still athletes, they still have pride, they still have drive to win, but you don't. It's just different,
Yeah.
right?
You
It's gotta
definitely feed
be.
off of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was in the NFL, I actually got the feeling of walking out of the tunnel onto the stadium. It's like sold out and screaming. So it is the most amazing feeling. Like you walk out the tunnel and all of a sudden you hear, and like you're just like, whoa, and I'm just like a little intern, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't imagine what it'd be like to be a player, you know,
Right?
and just feel all these people like just cheering for you and the energy. It's pretty crazy.
And
right?
even like for the Olympics, like a lot of these sports, this is it. You
Yeah.
know, like this is their stage. They're not going, you know, to go do archery in front of thousands of people. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So like this is their moment, and then there's just like no one there. Like that,
Yeah.
I don't. That must be actually pretty difficult, I think, and maybe that's why it doesn't feel as, you know, exciting to watch. Because I mean, obviously they're all amazing athletes, but it's just like, I don't know. There's just something missing, and maybe it's just the fans. I don't know.
Maybe. You know, just imagine that. You said something important. Like Olympic athletes, they train 4 years
Yeah.
for sometimes 10 seconds,
Yeah.
30 seconds, one game, one moment.
Yep.
Like, you know, the gymnasts, like they have 2 tries, and if they mess up, that's it. You
You're
know what I
done.
mean? Like you're done.
For
4
next
years.
4 years. I mean, there's like they have the world championships and other things like different competitions, but it's nothing like the Olympics.
Yeah, the Olympics is like the cream of the crop. And
Yeah.
yeah, it is crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, well, I feel for the Olympic athletes. I mean, I'm pretty sure they don't mind anyways. It's
Yeah,
still,
they're still winning medals.
yeah,
and
they're
stuff.
still winning medals and
They're
all that.
fine.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just a different vibe.
It's
you know?
it definitely is a different vibe this
Yeah.
year.
Like I don't know. Like I said, I just remember it was everybody knew, everybody was glued to their TVs.
Yeah.
Families were watching it together.
Right?
You know, like I remember just like figure skating was big.
Oh yeah.
You know, gymnastics. You know, I don't even think of gymnastics unless it's like the Olympics, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. It's like, because obviously like basketball's in the Olympics, but they have the NBA or they have
Yeah.
like European leagues, you know, but like gymnasts, they have like the world champions, but
Yeah.
they don't have like a league
Yeah,
or like archery
Yeah.
and then like beach volleyball or even like ping pong. You know what I mean? Like there's so many sports that this is their stage, this is their moment, and then it's just like,
and it's also country pride too.
yeah.
Like I mean, I even like watching the opening ceremony where all the athletes come
Mhm.
out, and it's super funny when like you see one country and there's like 2.
I
You know what
know.
I mean?
You're like, oh,
Yeah, like poor country, you know, and this
Right.
other country comes out with like 300
like us,
athletes.
I know
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Americans. I don't, and also like, not to get political, but having someone that I truly despise as our president for 4 years and kind of just, you know, put our name in the dirt, you know, across the world, you know, gave us kind of that, made us look pretty bad to everyone across the world. I don't feel like I want to be that patriotic right now. I'm like, you know, we're still kind of recovering from the damage I feel like he did to us. So I'm just like, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
But I think we need people to rally behind the country now. You know what I mean?
well, yeah, we need change and we need to
Yeah.
show that that's not who we are.
You know, so I'm not partisan. I'm Democratic sometimes and Republican sometimes because, you know, being in the financial industry and
Mm-hmm.
seeing successful people, business owners, I understand the Republican view of business.
Yeah.
But then I just, like you said, I didn't like, this was my big thing with the last 4 years, was I didn't like the division and the hate.
Yeah.
As a country, we were not built on that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like this is like the land of the free, the home of the brave. It's all immigrants, unless you're Cherokee or Aztec or Mayan or, you know, any other Native American, you're an immigrant, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, a lot of people don't feel like a lot of people don't seem like they think that way. They think this
Yeah.
is, you know, our land
Yeah.
and you're just here on it.
Yeah, I get it, you were born here, but you didn't come from here originally, right?
Yeah.
So I just didn't like the division. I didn't like the, you know, just separation. Like I'd never seen this country so
It was-
divided.
Yeah, it was insane. Like,
Even families were fighting against
I mean,
each
I
other.
found my dad pretty much weekly. You
Yeah.
know, my dad is a business owner, right? So I'm definitely more liberal,
So obviously he was,
and he was for Trump.
yeah,
And I was just like every day I was like, "Did you see what he said?
yeah.
Did you see what he did there?
Yeah.
You think that's okay?"
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Well, he's a good businessman." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Is he?
Yeah.
It is." You know.
But as a businessman, that's all you care about
I'm
is your
just like,
bottom
"Ah!"
line.
I was like screaming my head off. Woo, family times.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like even in previous Republican administrations, families were not being ripped apart.
Yeah, it was nothing like, okay,
Yeah.
like Bush, oh yeah, whatever. Like
Yeah.
he's
I mean,
know, whatever. He
They
was-
destroyed Iraq for no reason and destabilized the Middle East, which is not a good thing.
terrible.
But families were not fighting against each other. You know what I
I
mean?
guess because it wasn't on our soil, maybe. Like when Trump came, he was just being a little a-hole to like the U.S. You
Yeah.
know, like it was like us being. And I was like, like I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it was just like he was so gross
Yeah.
in every sense of the like. I don't even know if he's a good businessman. Okay, like I don't know. He's been bankrupt a lot. His dad gave him money. I don't know his whole like thing,
Yeah.
but he was a terrible person.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how can you let someone who is so terrible of a human being, you know, have such a high standing in our country, like the highest you can get? And he's out here making fun of like disabled people.
Yeah.
He is degrading women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like literally, and that's only two. Like you could probably have a list. We could probably talk about how terrible things he said for like another podcast, but it's just like I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I usually stay away from politics and religion, but yeah, I get it. Like it was not a good look for our country.
No.
Our country was admired most of the time
Mm-hmm.
by the world. We have our faults. Like,
Yeah, no one's
America's
perfect.
not perfect.
Yeah.
But when you look at the whole world, America was looked at as the model country, like one of the best, like the most powerful, best economies, all that kind of stuff. And then for a while, we were just looked at like, what the hell are you guys doing? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, like you guys good over
Yeah,
there?
like, is everything okay? You know, like,
And we're and all of us are like, no, help.
yeah. Excuse me. But anyways, real quick, I want to talk about one thing, and then we can wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
So let's go back to Olympics, and let's talk about USA basketball, because
Oh no,
USA basketball,
USA.
men's basketball.
Thank you.
Sorry, ladies.
Don't.
By the way, we say, oh, USA soccer sucks. And yeah, let me rephrase that. Women's soccer it still dominates to this day.
Yep.
The men, they're getting better, actually.
They're like yeah, they are.
Now they're getting better.
They're okay. Yeah, yeah.
They got
we'll give it to them.
Christian Pulisic.
Oh yeah,
they call him Captain.
Pulisic. Yeah.
Pulisic, Captain America, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in the World Cup next year. I'm excited.
I mean,
for that.
well, the U.S. women lost to
I know they
Sweden
just lost.
3-0.
Yeah, they got whooped.
But then they came back and they said, okay, we ain't having that, and they beat Australia 6-0. So
Sometimes a loss is good when you've been winning for so long.
they needed that, I think.
Yeah,
I think
they
they
were
needed
humbled.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it was like they're always looked at like number one. They're number
Yeah.
one. But it was, I think that's like, hey,
Yeah.
you be careful now. Like, don't get too cocky there.
You slack off a little bit when you just win so much. You
Yep.
know what I mean? But so
U.S. men's basketball.
U.S. men's basketball, the dream team just lost to France, who I don't even know any players except for Evan Fournier.
Rudy
Gobert.
Gobert.
Yeah,
Gobert, right.
Gobert. Yeah, he's actually Defensive Player of the Year. So they have two good players, but USA is like stacked with all stars.
You would
right?
think, yeah.
And it's funny because Patrick Ewing actually just had a quote. He said, I feel bad for the teams now because they grew up watching us dominate the world, but the world has now caught up,
Yeah.
which is true. Look at Luka,
Yeah.
arguably the best young star.
He's amazing.
Giannis, two of the best young players in the
Yeah.
NBA. The guy that just won the championship, he's from Greece,
Yep.
originally Africa. Luka is Slovenian, and he
Mhm.
just had more points than like 7 of the like all the starters
Yeah,
in
they-
USA. He had like 48 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and it's like a different brand of basketball anyways,
It's good
right?
though. It's
Yeah.
good. I like that. Like I want to see that in like women's sports too, like women's soccer. Like a lot of countries don't have the funding that the U.S. has. That's why the U.S. is dominant, right? Because they
Right.
have all the funding, they have all the money to go, but a lot of countries don't support their women's sports like that. So I think it's good. Like it brings more competition. It brings like more fun to watch. Like it does. Like it's sad seeing the U.S. men's basketball team lose.
Yeah, they lost twice already. They lost to Nigeria too.
It's like, but it's fun because you're like, oh wow, there's actually like
Yeah.
competition. Like that's what the Olympics are about, right? You want to see countries compete, not just
Just
one.
get whooped.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting. It brings a new dynamic, to the sport.
I think that actually says a good thing about the NBA though, because the NBA is truly worldwide now.
Yeah.
Because I think that's why we dominated so much in that sport, because the NBA wasn't that popular worldwide. Because if you think about popular sports in the United States are football, baseball, basketball, hockey. Popular sports nationwide: soccer,
Mm-hmm.
soccer, and soccer. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Football.
Tennis and track and field. Like nobody cares about track and field in the U.S.
I know.
But I'm in Sweden and they're watching it like it's the NFL.
Wow.
And I'm like, really? You guys watch this stuff? You know what I mean? So I think, honestly, it's funding, and it's also which sports are dominant in the country, right?
Yeah.
But and I think that's kind of why men's soccer has not caught up yet. And I think it's starting to.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Because soccer is big now, even youth sports and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it takes multiple generations for a sport to become like a big thing, right? And I think that's why we have Pulisic now, or how do you pronounce the name?
Pulisic.
Pulisic. We have Pulisic. We have, they call him Captain America. He is actually playing for Chelsea. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
He's like the first American born to be actually brought over to play for a huge international club.
Is he?
Yeah. And it was
Like Clint Dempsey or Landon Donovan never did that?
but I don't think they were brought over like, I read his Wikipedia. It
Oh,
was
I
something
see.
like, it was a $70-something million buyout.
Oh, I see.
So they were brought over, but they weren't bought out for almost $100 million.
To get over there, yeah.
So they bought him out for $76 million. He was the youngest captain of the USA team. I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my point is the US is now starting to produce superstar soccer players.
Yeah.
Right.
They're finally catching up.
And don't get me wrong, there's been some good ones like Dempsey and all the past players.
Donovan.
I don't want to diss the past players, but it was like one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were great for USA, but when they went internationally, it wasn't like the Ronaldos or the Messis or the Kylian Mbappes of the world.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, I think now because the last 3 generations have become more soccer focused, football. I think now hopefully we're gonna start to produce some superstars in the soccer world, and hopefully in 2022 the USA actually makes a run.
That'd be nice.
And does something pretty good because
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I can just imagine, like, I had a vision of, like, USA soccer, like, making this huge run and Pulisic and, they got this other guy. He's African, but I guess he's on the USA team, right? He's, like, the best.
I think I know who you're talking about.
It's, like, FI something. Well, anyways, he's a really good player, right? So now USA's got some players, right? So imagine if in the World Cup, they come and they make this huge comeback and they end up winning or going to the final, how big that would be for USA soccer. Like that would be huge.
Yeah.
They beat like the Frances of the world or the Italy. Well, Italy just came back and won. So
The Euros,
yeah,
yeah.
they missed the World Cup last time, which was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that would be great for soccer.
Yeah,
and
that'd be
sports.
great.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we had a good time, good conversation, good
Yeah.
content, I like that we're, we have different opinions and we
Yeah.
can, talk
Nobody
about them.
gets upset.
Yeah. Like,
Who knows? We haven't fought on the set yet,
Yeah,
but we'll
like-
see.
like, okay, I'm going to quit after
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm going to
Like,
edit your
uh-oh,
parts
yeah.
out.
Like, anybody do videography? I'm just kidding. Let us know. No,
In
no.
the
but
comments below.
Yeah, it was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this will be a good episode, and yeah, I think that's pretty much what we got right now. So, any last words?
I don't think so. I think we did good, and I hope to, see everyone in the future. And I guess you're going to be seeing a lot more of me as I've taken over as co-host. So yeah, can't wait to produce some more content for you guys.
Yeah, and then by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, we're experimenting with a new set here.
Yeah, let us know what you think
Yeah,
about our
let-
backgrounds.
Yeah, let us know if you like it. I know it's a little trippy, a little colorful, but that's just how we are here, right? We want to follow your bliss, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, thank you, Jessica.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. That was awesome. And we'll see you next time. And as always,
Follow your bliss.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into the podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Our goal, as always, is to become the #1 podcast in the world. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you share this with 3 of your friends. And if you like our song, our intro song, please check out my good friend Maroni Silva's band, A Dead Desire, on YouTube. That song is called The Mantra. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. And as always, follow your bliss.